Oh, hello. I was trying to figure out what was wrong, and I realized that was what was wrong. The table was backwards. Now it's good. Okay. Now good. Now we're good. So funny. I think we're good now. Okay. La pictura está allá? Oh, yes.
How are you doing, Bob? Okay. Nice seeing you on Friday making the Minha. Well, the weeks before Tish B'Av, I'm trying to make amends. Hedge your bets. What? Hedging your bets. Trying to hedge my bets. That's what I do. I do the same thing. Just in case. You're calling me out here. Hey, no, I'm calling myself out. I'm just looking at my experience. Actually, for me, it's a good chance to see a lot of friends. Hopefully, it'll be all of them, including you, all my Stiebel folks. That's what my grandma. I miss them. But you know, it's so much easier to do nothing. That's what my grandmother said to my grandfather when he wanted to go. You're just going there to drink schnapps with your friends. That's what my dad went. My dad was a democratic socialist. That's where I got it from. Well, I'm sure your dad was a Democrat. Well, actually, my parents were supported in '48. They supported the United Farm Workers. No, not the United Farm Workers. There were no United Farm Workers. Supported the left-leaning Democrats. Who was the guy who he was the vice president, and then they put him out. Wallace. Wallace. They were Wallace. Well, no wonder why you're reacting to the flaming red in your family. Yeah, in fact, they were delegates in Michigan. Oh, you're kidding? You're lucky. You're lucky they didn't deport you. Anyway, it's still Shabbos. I need to refrain myself from
These are just stories.
blabbing away.
They're just stories.
I don't want to go drink coffee at 7 o'clock. That's probably not smart. Okay. Thank you for reminding me. I'll put some hot water instead.
All I did was stand here, your Jiminy Cricket.
You know what it is sometimes you develop good habits. This would not be a good habit. I'm working on the good habits, like showing up here.
This is a good habit.
That's a good habit. Someone got to this before I did. It's good.
Is the good stuff?
Open.
I think when they had come from, we had like a luncheon thing today. I think that it was put out before, so I think some of the good stuff was put out.
Okay.
I know, but I think that's where the good stuff went.
Oh, okay.
I noticed it was out earlier.
Joey did a good job there. Very good. You got a permanent place there. He ran the whole Kabbalah Shabbat for the 11 of us. Yes.
That's so nice.
Yeah.
That's very nice.
Gave the rabbi a break and everything. Great.
Oh, that's so
Good
nice.
for
So
you.
Ben just knighted you?
Yeah. I think you should get an honorary death on that.
That's very nice.
Oh, we have a real one.
You're an early riser. No.
I get up when my dog needs a lot. As a matter of fact.
Yeah, I'm not early. As long as you're getting your money's worth.
Right.
Early guys too.
Certainly am.
We're getting close here.
Okay, now that I've heard that, I'm gonna ask Alan to develop Minha. Because I also like your Minha. Should we develop Minha?
I would be honored.
Awesome.
Well, you haven't tried.
A couple minutes, but.
I'm part of your tribe. The people who, the tribe is defined as someone you see down the street who you say hello to. A tribe is defined as if you're walking down the
I'm
street,
too tired to leave
you
myself.
see somebody, you say hello.
It's okay, you just have to teach.
That's not a tribe.
That's right.
Well, it might be a weak tribe, maybe a tribe where you don't
I've
like
done so
half
much
the
this
people,
weekend.
but it's a
I
tribe.
was teaching my whole family at school. What are you teaching this afternoon? I said to Bari, what are you teaching?
Could be
Put
showing
her
up
over.
to show.
Not even a little bit.
Could be.
Having a whole
anything.
source sheet here.
See what
I
I'm
just
saying?
reminded myself.
I'm reading the book, you're not reading the book.
Teaching
so
about.
I know what I know.
What
I wanna hear some music at the
Devarim, we get a better account. So that's what we're
I always love it how they're different reports.
Okay.
That's the favorite part about Devarim. It's not boring. It's
You know,
a
the
nice.
guy
Yeah,
said-
the commandments are
Yeah, the
different.
commandments are different.
This
Everything's a
guy,
little
we
different.
never,
So-
we never guessed that.
It just means, well, of course, it could be that it was.
He started playing, and I go, where's that come from? I look at it, I go, it's Bob. I go, oh my God, you gotta be
Not
kidding.
until 1850s when we hit enlightenment. Then it's possible.
The keys is in if there's maybe some kind of mechanical.
Oh, yeah,
or
definitely,
something.
I
I
couldn't
did
believe
this.
it.
Hang on, I'm gonna take this.
Well, you know,
Nonsense.
look,
Is Ella enjoying camp so far?
I heard from Miri Potty-Mom,
Yeah.
that's my little spy, I heard that she's enjoying, that she, all I heard was, Ella's
gonna
doing
get the
great,
blue
and she wants to know what's your address, you didn't write it down. So, yes, I think so, yeah. So hopefully she's having a good Shabbat there.
I hope so too.
Such a great place.
That was the first of many summers there for her.
Me too, that'd be great. How many summers did you spend there?
Spent 12 altogether,
Amazing,
consecutively.
Oh, no, 9 is on its way.
amazing.
10,
Oh,
got it.
Herb. Wow.
No, I'm looking in the hallway.
I know, I'm just excited. We're gonna talk about the spies today, making good reports, and Herb's already doing. Very exciting. Oh, yeah, Barbara's one. Are you laying for us today? We have a sharing section. Kathy, can I give you an Aaliyah? Okay, I'll give you the third one, you can work your way up to it.
Yeah, thank you.
Fantastic. Oh, I'll take the Lev Shalem, because I know you're not gonna leave from it.
You may take it. Just so much easier to pray from this one for me. But I love the other one for the commentaries. They're
But it's easier.
incredible. Yeah,
Oh,
Ed won't hold it against you.
okay.
Okay, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. We're going to begin in Siddur Lev Shalem on page 214 with Ashrei. You can begin seated.
Ashrei Ashrei v'techa u'lecha selah. Aloha Hashem Shadonai Elohav Tila LeDavid. Tilat na yada bepi, vivarecha basashen kochel elam vahed, v'navrech yaham et avyad olam, hallelujah, uval etzion goel. Ve'ata kadosh yoshev lo Yisrael, v'krozel ze ve'amar, kadosh kadosh kadosh, Adonai tzvaot tzvodo. Vatisa eni ruach v'eshmacha korash gadol, baruch Adonai minkomo. Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Titen emele Yaakov chesed l'Avraham asher nishvat l'avotenu mihi v'kedem. V'yivdechu v'chayodei shemecha ki lo azata doshecha Adonai Adonai chafetz leman tzidko yagdil torah v'yadir Yitkada v'yitkada shemei rabba v'amad divra kirutei v'amlich machutei b'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayedecho be'Yisrael Pagala v'zman karim amen Yesh merabah mevarach l'lav lo me'almaya יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה שמי קודשה בריחו לאלה מן גובייך ושירתה תשפטה ונחמתה דמרם בעלמה ואמרו אמן. ואני תפילתי לך אדוני את רצון אלוהים ברוך חסדך ענני באמת אישך ויהי בנשוא אהרון ויאמר משה קום אדוני ויפוץ אויביך וינוס משנאיך מפניך כי מציון תצא תורה ודבר אדוני מירושלים ברוך שנתן תורה לישראל בקדושתו. גדלו לאדוני תהיו מה שמו יחדיו לך הגדולה והתפארת והנצח וההוד ככל השמיים והארץ לך אדוני הברכה גם מתנשא לכל ראש רובו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו לדבר הקדוש Let's find out.
Oh, yes. Yeah, it's upside down.
Is it upside down?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's get that off. And we'll be like Vav Hai Puch, Torah Hai Puch.
There you go. Perfect. Hey, we can be seated. We're going to read from Parshat Devarim.
Oops. Oh, you looking at it this way?
Oh, yeah, upside down in that way, too. Wow. And, oh, we're going to read from, we're facing that direction.
Oh, really?
Yeah, really.
Okay.
Yeah, for the afternoon, yeah. Yes, it's always an adventure. We're gonna face this, right? And I'm gonna call up some aliyot. I've only assigned one, so Mickey, can I invite you up for the first aliyah? Fantastic, thank you. And let's make sure we first find the beginning of Parshat Devarim, which should be.
And the time Chumash on page 981.
I've got an Elah, but not the wrong one. Let's see.
Do you want me to,
Elah HaPurim.
get it?
Oh, let me take a quick look here.
It should be this direction. Because
Which way?
It should be this direction.
Yeah, I think so also.
We
I
just,
thought I'd give it a try. But,
For those following along at home, from a
Done
different
not that
Chumash, open to the first chapter of the book of Deuteronomy.
yeah, I know, be on his right side. Oh, yeah, there should be a sash over on, oh, it's over there. Joey, would you mind grabbing the binder of the Torah? Thank you. Perfect, right
there we
there.
go, yeah. Oh,
Okay, great.
nothing like the beginning of
I know,
book.
exactly. All right, there you go.
Baruch Adonai Barach L'Olam Va'ed.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen. Elah HaDvarim Asher Diber Moshe Al Kol Yisrael Ba'ver HaYordan Bamidbar Ba'arava Mosu Ben Paran Uven Tofel Levant Hatzerot V'di Zachav Achat Asa Yom Mechorev Derek Asair Art Kadesh Barneam Zahi Baraim Shana Bashte Asar Chodesh Bechal Chodesh Diber Moshe El Bnei Israel Kechol Asher Tzivah Adonai Oto Alehem.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam natan betoheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen.
Amen. Shkoya. Does anyone have any special occasions this week? It hasn't been honored yet? No? Yeah, all right, doing great. Shkoya. Very nice. And Gary, you want to come up and take an aliyah? Yeah, you want to take an aliyah, Gary? Remind me your Hebrew name. Gershom ben Moshe v'Shoshana v'Aliyah hashniha.
Page 982, verse 4.
We're on Gary's right side.
Baruch Hu Adonai HaBarach.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Olam
Baruch
Ba'ed.
Adonai Baruch Le'elam Ba'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher Baruch Harbanu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torto. Baruch Atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen. Acharei hakato etzichon melech hamarim asher yoshev be'eshbon v'edog melech habashan asher yoshev be'ashtarad Ashtarod b'mado.
Be'edrei. Basharot be'edrei.
I'm in the wrong place here.
One line down. Basharot be'edrei.
Here I am, sorry. There. Be'edrei, be'aver hayarden, be'aretz Moab, ho'il Moshe, be'ared hamnara hazod, le'mor, Adonai Eloheinu, dibe'aleinu, be'acharev, le'mor, rach lachem, shevet b'char hazeh, penu yusu lachem, u'v'u har mari, v'al kol shekinah, be'arava, b'char hasfela, U'v'negev, u'v'choch hayom, eretz akadoni halbanon, ad kanachar, hakadol nachar parat.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam natan b'tochenu. Baruch Atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen.
Ta'amad. Gary, will you lend the, at least for touching and kissing, yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, there you go, perfect. Thank you. Oh yeah, it is her, there's Talit.
No, I mean, I forgot about that.
Exactly. And then, what's your Hebrew name?
Kayla Sima,
Kayla Sima,
Bat Yehuda Berachel.
Bat Yehuda Rachel, Baliyah Hashlishit.
Page 983, verse 8.
Push to tell us.
Not used to. Baruch Hu et Adonai Amvarah.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Olam Ba'ed.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Ba'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher b'charbanu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torto. Baruch Atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen. Asher nishpa Adonai la. Sorry, Ray.
Yeah, there you go.
Amen. Rei netiti lifnechem le'ed haaretz ba'u usu et haaretz asher nishpa Adonai lavotechem li'Abraham li'Yitzhak li'Yaakov l'teit lachem l'zara macharechem ve'amar lechem ba'ed hachi le'mor lo uchal levadi se'et etchem Adonai Elokechem hirba etchem Hunakem chayom chochotei hashemayim larohov Adonai Elohei avotechem Yosef alechem kachem elef ba'amim beberek etchem kasher diber lachem.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet b'chayei olam natan b'tochenu. Baruch Atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Great, fantastic. Yamad, Hamagbiya, Tamad, Hagul Melech. Yeah, oh, thank you. I got it, yeah. All right, please rise for the lifting and wrapping of the Sefer Torah. Zot HaTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai v'ad Moshe Yitzchayim v'ila machazikim ba'avitzayim ve'amerushay Yitzchayim v'ila machazikim zikin ba v'tomecha meushar. Tirachei darkei noam v'chol netivotei hashalom. Tirachei darkei noam. Oh, it should be on the yeah, perfect. Yeah. Oh, yeah, there's like so many, yeah, just one too many, yeah, there's one too many chainy things on this, it's fine, we got it. Great, Yasher Koach, Yasher Koach. Do we have any people saying, El Male this week? Does anyone have an El Male to be said in the room this week? In memory of a loved one? Anyone on Zoom this week saying an El Male for a loved one? If not, then we'll hand the Torah back to Alan, who will continue leading our service. The service resumes. Yeah. The service resumes on page 221. As we return the Torah to the ark, remain standing.
Yehalelu et Shem Adonai, ki nizkar shemo levado. Etzchaim chimachzim bavdom checha mosha adrecha dechena v'chonidoteh hashalom hashivenu anei lecha v'nashuva chadesh yameinu kekedem. Yitkadav yikadash ve'avav ve'amadi v'akiuti ve'amlich v'achute b'chayech onru v'yomechon v'chayrucho be'Yisrael v'agalav izman karivimu amen yesh ve'avav v'ach le'lav ve'amaya Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitbar v'yidma v'yidnaseh v'yitadar v'yidalev v'yidalashem v'yidakudisha v'yichu le'elam v'yidgobechata v'shirata tushbata v'nechamata d'amon v'omavimu amen.
The whispered private Amidah for Shabbat afternoon begins on page 223. If you haven't yet completed your own private Amidah, please continue at your own pace. The repetition begins on page 223. We remain standing through the Kedusha. At the end of the Kedusha with the blessing, Ha'el HaKadosh, we can be seated.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Eloi Avotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor VaNorah Elyon Gomer Chasadim Tovim V'konei Yaakov V'zocher Chastei Avot U'mevii Goel Livnei B'neihem L'man Shemo B'Yava Melech Ozer V'Kedem Moshiach V'Magen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham V'Ketzara Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai Mechem Tavrav L'Oshia Morid Atal Mechalkel Chaim B'Chesed Mechem Tim V'Rachamim Rabim Somech Noflim V'Ofer Cholim V'Matzir Asurim Mekayem Anatol Ishenei Avar Milchamo Chabal Gevurot U'Mido Melach Melech Me'midum Chayim Atzmiach Yeshua V'Ne'eman Atal Lechayot Metim Baruch atah Adonai Mechayei HaMetim Nekadesh et Shemcha ba'olam Geshem shavakti Shemvato b'shmei marom K'katuv al yad neviecha V'karat zeh el zeh v'amar Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzvaot, Melech ha'aretz kvodo, L'matam Baruch Yomeru. Baruch Kevod Adonai Mimkamov, Divrei Chodshecha Katuv Lemor. Yimelech Adonai le'olam, Elohayich Tzion, L'dor v'ador, Hallelujah. L'dor v'ador nagid godlecha, L'netzach netzeh mikudushatcha nakdish, V'shivchacha Eloheinu, Mipinu emush le'olam va'ed, Ki el melech ador v'kadosh atah, Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh, Atah chad v'shimcha chad, mikem chayes v'goy echad ba'aretz, tiv'et gedula, ve'ateret Yeshua, yom menucha, u'kedusha lamcha natata, Avraham yagel, Yitzhak yeranen, Yaakov v'anav yanuchu vo, menuchat ahava nidava, menuchat emet ve'emunah, menuchat shalom v'shalva hashket v'vetach, menucha shalom ashatarot zebaha, yakiru vanecha, v'yod'ei ki mitcha hi menuchatam, v'al menuchatam yakdishu et shemecha, Eloheinu v'le'avotenu, v'tzevim nuchatenu, kadshenu b'mitzvotecha, v'ten chelkenu b'toratecha, sabeinu mituvecha, v'samchenu b'shuatecha, v'taher libenu li'ovdecha be'emet, v'anchilenu Adonai Eloheinu, b'yavav v'ratzon shabbat kodshecha, v'anuchu v'yisrael mekadshei shemecha, Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh ha-shabbat. V'etzeh Adonai Eloheinu b'mchas ve'ot tfilatam, v'ashev ad voda lidbir beitecha, u'tfilatam b'achava tekabel b'ratzon, u'tihila ratzon tamid avodat Yisrael amecha, v'techezena einenu, v'shuvacha l'tzion b'rachamim, Baruch atah Adonai, hamachas yishchinato l'tzion. Modim anachnu lach. Hatov kilucha l'rachamecha, v'rachem kilutam l'chasadecha, me'olam kivinu lach. Ve'al kulam yitbarach v'nam shimcha malkeinu, tamid le'olam va'ed. Ve'chol am yoducha sela, v'halu et shimcha bemet. Ha'il shortenu ezratenu sela. Baruch atah Adonai, hatoshimcha lechaneh lehodot. Shalom Rabba Yisrael, Amcha v'kol yoshvei tevel, tasim le'olam. Katu melech Adon lecho hashalom, v'tov beinecha. Levarech nechas ve'el b'chol ed v'chol sha'ah b'shlomecha. Baruch atah Adonai, Hamvarech et Amo Yisrael b'shalom. Tzidkatcha tzedek leolam, v'toratcha emet, utzaka Elohim ad marom, asher asita gedolot, Elohim yichamocha. Tzidkatcha kareel, mishpatacha tehom rabbaha, Adam uve'emat, Hoshia Adonai. Yitgad avi kadash ve'abba ve'amadi v'akirute ve'amlich machute b'chayechon uvyomechon v'chayrecho be'Yisrael b'agalav izman kariv imu amen yesh me'rabba v'ach le'lam elamel maya Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitbar v'yidma v'yidnaseh v'yitadar v'yidaleh v'yidalal shemer kudusha v'ru le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbata v'nechamata deman v'alma v'imu amen Titkabat tzlodon v'achon d'cho Yisrael kadam dushmai v'imu amen Yehi shalom rabba min shemaya v'chayim alenu v'kol Yisrael v'imu amen Oseh shalom imamav hu yaseh shalom alenu v'kol Yisrael v'imu amen Aleinu l'shabeach l'Adon hakol. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai l'melech al kol haaretz v'yom ha'u Adonai echad u'shemo echad.
Mourner's Kaddish is on page 232.
Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabba ve'alma divra kirute ve'amlich malchute v'chayechon u'yomechon u'chaye d'chol beit Yisrael ba'agala u'bizman kariv v'imu amen.
Amen.
Yehi
Yehi
shmei
shmei
rabba
rabba
v'barach
v'barach le'olam
le'olam
u'amei
olmei
amaya.
amaya. Yivarach v'yishtabach v'yipohar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudisha v'yichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechmata damiran ba'alma v'imu amen Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imu amen Oseh shalom b'imamav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imu amen
Amen. Yishar koach to Alan for leading us. Shkoyach to Barry for leading Torah for us this morning, or this afternoon rather. We are now going to take a little bit of a nourishment break. You're more than welcome to grab a little bit of sustenance, a little bit of food from our little buffet over here. And after we have a few minutes to go and get a little food, then we'll learn together. And then we'll do Mariv and Havdalah. So without any further ado, go grab a little bit of food, and then we'll begin learning.
what we do is a cup, what we do is this fancy cups after we finish drinking, take home.
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
where
that's
it's
what
empty,
we
it's
do.
like-
Fancy what? This is part of the environmental, well, not using paper cups, using recyclables.
They can still wash it.
What? I guess they ran out of cups this week.
No, we're using the regular cups. That's a change.
It's what?
It's a change
The change is,
to have regular cups. We don't waste on those temporary cups. You know, old tree huggers.
yeah, we're up with water and the electricity that you put out to wash it, to keep it.
That's been discussed, and this is the decision. Is that the iced coffee or iced tea? Was this your last week today as governor? Oh, we should have said something.
They said one
boy,
picture
well.
in her bunk.
You know, you can never control certain things like that. Sometimes there's dominoes and that.
Boys in their bunks are so cute, they look so little. The girls are very rough.
It all just, but they're all good.
Exactly, the
Some take
girls
longer than
are
others.
so much more rough.
It's all good.
Figure out how to break through
Yeah.
the post and then pay your lunch.
Like powder coating the fuzzy background. I also got like a text from Miri that said, completely unwritten, that said, hey, this is Miri.
Yeah, I just wanted to go, I just don't know.
I don't even sell them. But she said, hey, it's Miri. Elizabeth's great. She wants to know what your address is because you didn't tell her. Well, she knows her address, but I guess she probably doesn't know if it's for. Right, she's writing a letter, that's very sweet, like, it's exactly kind of, not like, not an adult, but like, an young adult for our community, like, sends a message, like, without going there.
Nothing's great.
Yeah, it's magic.
Well, you're paying,
Nominated some of the way.
yeah, you got it one way or another.
YouTube is like your attention.
Yeah, it's ads. So it's not free, but I don't mind taking the ads, I just push the delete button. Yeah. That was my interest.
Exactly, yeah, Rabbi Shop is the Rabbi Investment.
Advertising, but they work like, you don't need something, then they tell you you need something. That's the problem. You don't know what you need.
Yeah, see, the thing is they create, that's smart, it's called marketing.
It's the sweetest.
You know, you gotta learn a simple word in 2 letters.
Yeah, she'll be home Monday night for yeah. Her third-year counselor is here. She's a life company.
Really, it's worse all the time.
Wants to follow them.
Like whenever it says you want your ads tracking, you want to waste cookies, you have to say no every single time, or else they find those weird ads that say, how do no one's looking at these things? Because you have to track everything.
Yeah, I say yes, so what?
Is there also a problem with the website? Exactly, they don't work hard, right? Because in Europe, they say you no longer do that, they have to work right regardless.
It's a certain, she'll know when it's.
California's trying to sell things.
That was handed to me.
You work in California, you get like
Like
special
reading,
privacy privileges by living here.
she got it.
As opposed to the rest of the United States.
You ever see him
Just like, still, I guess.
I don't realize,
in the
like,
United States, you
how
can
much
force
he
to use
was-
the same laws as California. It's easier just to have it straight through, like the weird policy bylaws. It's like a funny one, the one where anything with destination has to be labeled Prop 65. Every single, like every.
Yeah, they do.
It's not even
They're so
buildings
little,
yet.
bitty.
It's absolutely.
Yeah.
There's no redeeming value.
I still can't believe She will be very mad that she's not.
The big fight, they watered it down to meaningless, and that was it. They watered it down to carcinogens in the environment.
Yeah, probably. Learn how to be. I could already tell. I mean, she's sitting in bed reading our picture, and I thought, I didn't send any material up with her, so either she packed some stuff for herself,
Wisconsin Hayden's big
or
brother.
she got it.
Watered down.
Me and Miller most likely, almost certainly have
So
very
they know
soon
it's the
there.
first time that these people decide to, be in a place where they're getting poisoned. You know, breathing village. Well, she goes to a little tiny.
Realize that they're just.
Sometimes it's like, sometimes they complain, just having a sign down the gate.
It's like this symbolic thing of like,
We used to go, no one's gonna dangerous. It's all about location, location. Everything's not well.
That I don't like. I wish they had. I wish they had.
we were given a bucket, and they're giving me like a soapy bucket and a rag at the end of the meal. And it was like, 100%. Every summer camp I went to was that.
I know the difference, you know. It's not just New York City better, it's just geography. Most cities blows all the sheets out, here it's kept within an amount of ranges. And more cars.
And then like the buses, yeah.
And Hadley is 1 mile by 11 miles, 1.5 million people. That's 3.5 million. Wow. Most way of. Now I have to tell them storage. It's all about the nature of the.
Bear with me here.
Gentleman over there uses the gas, which was gas. It's good or not? It's a long trip from Manhattan Beach. I used to have a conversation before the guy died.
Volunteering is the opposite. I volunteer scanning documents. How do I get through when I know you're poor, can't provide it. For a long time, it's so funny, because I like to think within my religion, I'm not worried about what the person would
Okay, we're going to begin learning. What a crowd today.
They moved it out.
Okay, I'm going to pass the sheets around. I'll start them over on this side of the room. You can just kind of send them around. Great. We're going to start with some very, very basic review of the notion of Devarim, of Deuteronomy. Some of you may truly already know some of the most basic things that I'm about to review, but it's important to know to get into what we're about to get into. Devarim is the 5th book of the Torah. We're about to start it next week. Wherever you may have done morning prayers this morning, You may or may not have actually done a siyum on the book of Bamidbar, the fourth book. You may or may not have finished it completely, because if you did a triennial reading, even though it was the double Torah portion of Matot Maseh, you may or may not have gotten to do the moment of Chazak, Chazak, Venit, Chazek, of finishing the Torah portion, because we are in the first of 3 years of the Torah reading cycle. And in that first of 3 years, we don't wrap up. We only read the first third of that Matot Maseh reading cycle. Because of that, that means that we haven't completely bridged over to Devarim, but by next week we will be in the book of Devarim. Devarim means either words or things or anything else? Any other meaning?
Is it sayings?
It could be sayings. It could be Dvarim. Could be like bituyim comes to mean. Yep, sayings. Very nice. The Tybal. Hi, Tybal. That was nice to hear your voice in the ether. Yes, it could mean sayings as well. Deuteronomy, if you break down that word, it means something completely different. Deuter means second. Onomy is telling. So a second telling. We're not going to get too deeply into this idea, but the second telling really means two things. We'll briefly touch upon this. In a second telling, in a literary sense, we are going through a second telling of the entire narrative of the first 4 books of the Torah. And when I say the entire narrative, I really mean only books 2, 3, and 4, because we don't really get a retelling of the Genesis narrative. We don't get a retelling of creation. We don't get a retelling of the patriarchal, matriarchal line, right? There's none of that really in Devarim. We don't get a retelling of the Joseph narrative, which takes up many, many parshas, chapters, however you want to divide it, in the first book. We really get a retelling of the narrative that's lived by, seen through the eyes of Moshe, of the character of Moshe, which is fitting because Devarim is really in the eyes of, or in the mouth of, Moshe, who is standing on the banks of the river, looking into the promised land, telling this story before he's about to go in. Spoiler alert, he won't. Okay, the people are going to go in, he won't. He knows that. He's been told that. It's been foretold. The second telling means something else as well. The second telling has to do with the fact that this book, this 5th book of the Torah, may well be referred to in a later prophetic book that we receive as a part of our Hebrew biblical canon. This may be a book that was found later and really is a second telling of our early biblical canon. It may very well be that the authorship behind it is a different authorship. So it really may be a different telling, not just a second telling by the very same divine-ish authorship of these first books, but it may really be a second telling. The reason why I bring all this up is that we're about to look at a story that we looked at not that long ago. We just learned not so long ago in Parshat Shalach Lecha the story of the spies. Those who were sent into the land when God said, send forth scouts, spies, into the land, go have them look into the land and see what they can find. And then they came back and we heard their reports, and there were consequences to those reports. And now we're going to see the Deuteronomy. We're going to see the second telling of that story. And we're going to look at the consequences. And in the second telling of this story, in hearing a story for a second time, as is always the case when you hear a story for a second time, we can learn new things. This time, I'm not going to ask us to look side by side at the narrative, first when we saw it and second when we saw it in Devarim, but rather we're going to look at what the commentators have to say about this particular framing in the book of Devarim. Got it? So let's take a look as it appears in the first chapter in the 25th verse. Vayikchu v'yadam mipri haaretz, and they took up in their hands from the fruit of the aretz, from the land. Which land? Eretz Yisrael. And who yichud, who took it in their hands? the spies, right? All of the spies. They all took up. Some of them, all of them, they took up the fruit. Vayoridu elenu, oh, my eyesight's going. Vayoridu elenu, vayashivu otanu davar, vayomeru. So they took it with them and they went down to us, and they kind of they returned to us, right? They put upon us and they returned to us this davar, this word, saying to us, Tova haaretz, the land is good, asher Adonai Eloheinu notein lanu, that the Lord our God is giving to us, or gives to us. Got it? So what is good? The land. What's their proof? Look at this fruit. It's delicious, right? And then what do they say? What follows that part of their report? But what?
The giants are afraid,
Uh,
giant walking in Oceanica Park, I don't know, I mean, the guy was like 6 feet tall.
there are big, beautiful giants in the sky, right? As Sondheim would say. Someday I'll do my take on Shlach Lecha and Into the Woods. There are great giants in the land. The land is beautiful. It's flowing with milk and honey. Look at these delicious fruits. Taste these fruits. The people, though, we have some things to warn you about with the people. Okay, so we're going to look at the commentary. And first, Nachmanides, Ramban, has a wonderful question that he thinks we should ask ourselves about this set of verses. He says, did we make a mistake in believing Caleb and Yehoshua? Who are Caleb and Joshua? Who are Caleb and Yehoshua in this narrative? They are the two who what?
You said God will give us the land, all will be good, we will persevere, even though we think that these people are greater than we are, or greater than God will be in Jesus.
They came back. They are known as the spies who made the good reports. They came back and they said, don't you worry, whatever is there, we can take them. We've got it. Not only can we take them, God will make sure that we can take them. They came back and they're known as those spies. He said, should we have believed them though? Think about this for a minute. He said, who are those who spoke well of the land? These were Joshua and Caleb. And he said, that's what, he says that Rashi's language in the Sifre, meaning Rashi, the 11th to 13th century commentator, French commentator, that when he reads the Sifre, which is an old commentary, he reads that verse, chapter 1, verse 25, saying that it was Caleb and Joshua who came back and said that the land was good. But Nachmanides says, no, that's not what happened. What happened was everybody came back and said, the fruit is delicious. Caleb and Joshua said, let's go. And the rest of them said, the fruit's delicious, but the people are terrifying. There's no way we can take this land. And he asks, I wonder, if so, what is this complaint against them? Was it proper that they, our people, should have believed 10 people more than 2? Wasn't the testimony of 10 people, the 10 reports of the people who came back, shouldn't that have been believed over the 2 reports of Caleb and of Joshua? You have a question or a thought?
Well, no, it says it's a good land that our God is giving to us.
Mm-hmm.
So whoever is speaking, whether it's the 2 or the 12, it's a sense like, hey, it's giving to us. There's nothing in there saying, oh, but no, he's giving it to us, but we're not going to take it. Or we're giving it to us, we're not going to be able to defeat the inhabitants that are there. Once you say it's being given to us, then it means that, all right, it's going to be ours to enjoy.
Right, so Alan reads this verse and says, listen, just like Caleb and Joshua said, this land is Asher Noten Lanu. God is giving this land to us. Whoever is saying these words believes it's given to us. We're going to persevere. We're going to be fine in that land. But it's possible for something to be given to you and for that thing to still be a challenge, for you to be given something, and yet, it's like when somebody gives you a gift and then it turns out there are 385 steps to assemble it, which I speak from experience as a parent after every birthday party. And multiply that by all the gifts. So that's just a microcosmic idea compared to the land of Israel. But I think that the read on this from Nachmanides is, if this verse were actually spoken by all of the spies, which is how he's reading it, then the problem here is that we believed the reports of 2 people over the reports of 10 people. Did we stop to think about that? This seems to be a bit of an issue. It is hard to go against the crowd, Irv. I agree. These were pretty loud reports. So was that the issue? Is that why we believed them? He is going to come up with what he says is the correct interpretation is, he is going to come there. And maybe you read ahead, but if you didn't read ahead, do you have a thought about why he's going to say it was correct? He's going to believe it was correct to believe Caleb and Joshua. Don't worry. Nachmanides thinks we did the right thing believing Caleb and Joshua. But oh, I've read ahead. Anyone else have a thought on why? Okay. Sandra didn't read ahead and she wants to.
I had 2 thoughts. One is because, faith in Hashem, right? That's like the others are saying God said that he's giving us to it, but yeah, no thanks. and Yeshua and Caleb said, yeah, God's giving us to us, let's go, right? So they're both saying it's a lovely land, and 2 people are having faith that what God foretold is gonna happen, and so so that's one thought.
So there's some thought that the testimony that human beings give that supports what God foretold has weight, has more weight. Okay.
The other thought I had was, and just as you were saying it, I was thinking to myself, what's the word I'm looking for? When you inspire, that those 2 were inspiring, the other 2 were like downers, and you always want to follow the inspiration.
So perhaps it was that Caleb and Joshua, when they were speaking, they were the ones to follow, because what then? Right? They were leaders. And what was it exactly that the other 10 spies were saying? So then what? What if we didn't follow? Okay, so now what? Who do we follow? Right. They're speaking out of fear. And then also, what are the consequences of that? The consequences are, then is their story over? Right? If we don't follow God, then who do we follow? If we don't believe that this land was meant to be given to us, then what do we do next? If we can't go into this land that's flowing with milk and honey, now what? It's not only a downer, it's actually the end of a story. So perhaps that too stops it. And I'll take these 2 comments and then we're going to find out what Nachmanides thinks. Yeah. Or questions.
How about the, so what did they need the most accurate report? I mean, even if it's negative information, God's telling them to go forth. It doesn't matter what the report says really, but you need to know if there are giants coming in there, and you need to fight giants. And then if there are giants, you need to fight them in a different way than you fight normal people. I would just think bad news is still news that you need to know. You can't just say everything's good news and then fight in ignorance.
Great. What a wonderful point by Nikki. So the like, bad news, good news. What you need is accurate spies, right? What we were told is send some people to the land to scout it and tell us what's there. Great that the plums are delicious. I'm so glad to know that, right? Or more accurately, the dates, right? The dates are fantastic. But what we really need to know is what we're facing militarily, right? And we need to prepare ourselves as a people. So bad or good, we really need to know what we're coming to. So does it really make it such that they're bad spies? They're actually accurate if those people are there, unless they're not actually huge and terrifying enemies whom we face, but rather they're only huge and terrifying because they're facing those people from a point and a place of fear. And that's one of the questions that our commentators are asking. So I'm completely with you. And there's a live and open question among our commentators. How terrifying were those people when they saw them? Was it just a matter of perspective? So that's the open question.
You know, it just hit me when I took a walk and I saw a gentleman. He was easily 6'2", but he was built, like
Mhm.
really strong looking. No. Anyway, I'm thinking, it just hit me when I was walking. It's funny, Parsha is the same. These folks were slaves for 400 years. They weren't exactly he-men, probably themselves. They're in the desert. Mana doesn't sound like it was too fattening, so they probably were people who they would not want to meet in a dark alley or even a light alley. If 10 people were walking around with the size who was walking on the same path with me, I'd be terrified too. I mean, the big, strong people, if you're not that big and strong, it's,
Yeah.
for the 5 feet 5 inch people in the audience.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe there's something worthy.
6'5" people, you wouldn't be so sorry to do battle.
So your suspicion is that they sent all short people and they were all terrified because everyone was no. It is very right. It might be a very scary experience. You're right, to go and find people who had been not slaves for the past 400 some years, not coming out of trauma, not necessarily coming as a ragtag band of people, but rather coming and facing a people who are militarily trained. Yes, Nachmanides in this case, yeah. AJ, yes.
So let me see if I can reconcile the two, at least bring together the two different arguments here. The rabbis, we could fight back or push back and say, you got sages that are comfortably sitting in their at their study tables and have not had to fight in military combat, and so you really don't. You can comment, but go away. But I agree with Mickey that there is you have to look at reality that you could say these people, these spies are being accurate. They're bringing forward, yes, negative information. It's a downer, but you don't want to be pie in the sky. The difference is between, are you willing to believe in miracles and having such faith in Hashem that hey, Hashem's already wrought all these miracles for us, and this will be another one, right? As opposed to, we are, this is reality, we've got to go fight, some people are going to die, et cetera, et cetera. And so these guys, these spies in particular, were living in that real world and not believing in miracles. That seems to be what the rabbis of old have an issue with, right? That they just weren't willing to believe in miracles, so you didn't get a miracle. That's a catch. There's a catch-22 in that equation I reject. And they're saying basically, we don't live in an age of miracles anymore, and at some point, God stopped talking directly to Moses, et cetera, et cetera. I think that transition point hits right about the same time, right? So their leaders are, the same thing's happening to them. Reality is setting in, and as that's happening to the people as well. They're moving from that miraculous era into the real world. As far as the real world is concerned, you need accurate information and you need time in order to train yourself to come up to speed and to handle something you've never done before. Okay, let's prep for it and work it. And eventually, after a generation of time, they managed to go in and face the reality and win. And yeah, that was Hashem's will? Yes. Is that miraculous? In many ways, yes. Does that qualify as parting of the Red Sea, et cetera, level miracle? Most people wouldn't take it that far.
So it's not necessarily about even the perception, about whether or not some people saw the people of the land as being intimidating or not, the kind of barrier that you can approach or not, what we should be willing to do or not, what the reality was or not. It was whether or not they were willing to believe in that sort of, in the meaning of that phrase as the land that God is giving to us, and whether or not that miracle was not necessarily guaranteed, but if we do it, then God will. If we fight it, then God will. If we approach it, then God will meet us there. And you're ready to reject the idea that, you know, if people don't believe in miracles, then perhaps it simply won't happen for them. I want to stop us there because we're never going to get through these sources if we don't actually finish out what Nachmanides really thinks and then get on to the next source. But I know there are more thoughts out there, so hold those thoughts and we'll keep moving. I want us to get to his idea of the correct interpretation. He says the correct interpretation is, as I have already explained there. Thank you very much. He means in the commentary above. All the spies admitted before Moshe and Aharon and the whole congregation, saying, "We came into the land that you sent us to, and surely it flowed with milk and honey. Here's the fruit that we got out of it." And thus they were all in consensus on the goodness of the land, as in the land was tova aretz hi, it was a good land. But with reference to the strength of those nations living there, they melted the people's hearts, is his phrase. Melted the people's hearts is not our saying melted the people's hearts. It was that they moved them, as in 10 people can be very convincing. Oof, all the people. Okay, they really moved people about how strong the people were, meaning everybody agreed that the land was wonderful, but they came in with an additional commentary, not on the land, but on the people who were living there. Then when the 10 spies saw that Joshua and Caleb were encouraging the people to wage war, it was that the spies came to the children of Israel, not there gathered in the presence of Moshe, and they disseminated a slanderous report about the land to the effect that it is a land that eats up the inhabitants there. This is what Moshe meant when he stated that you murmured in the tents. The people also did not mention the slander in the presence of Moshe, because he, meaning Moshe, would refute them. Because they, meaning the spies themselves, did not say so at first, that the land kills its inhabitants. Rather, at first, remember, they came back and they gave the report, oh, it flows with milk and honey. Meaning, what did they say at first when everyone was gathered? The line that was given from all of the spies was, beautiful land, lovely land, terrific land. But then when they saw that Caleb and Joshua were encouraging people, so now let's go, they went and they said to people, you know, before we go over there, you just need to know this thing. The people who are there, terrifying. I don't think we should go in. And it was the way that they went about this. And he takes that from this idea of the murmurings in the tents, that it was that they went behind the back of all the leadership to go and murmur and sow this discontent. Oh, we shouldn't go in there and wage war. Go to Sforno on the following page. And Sforno supports this idea. I'm going to use that another time. Sforno, a 15th century Italian commentator, says, Af Harishayim Hodu. They agreed, they praised the goodness of the land when they said, it's also Zvat Chalavu Dvashi. It's also a land of milk and honey. They're saying even the problematic spies came back and their report about the land was good. The land wasn't the scary part. They too reported that the land was good. That wasn't the problematic thing about their report. Go to the Malbim on the next page. The Malbim says something a little bit building on this idea. So they were sent about this. I was going to go through this particular commentary in Hebrew, but we're going to run out of time. So, for they were sent about this to see the goodness of the land, right? Tuvo haaretz. Since they were sent about this detail, they had to give an answer to those that sent them. And they admitted about this, meaning the spies who we consider to be the quote unquote bad spies, problematic spies. It is a good land from the perspective of it being that God is noten lanu, it is giving it to us. That if the Lord gives it to us miraculously, there's no objection about the land itself. And Moshe did not mention that which they said, which was way back in the other book, not in this second telling. However, the people who inhabit the country are powerful, as this was not an answer, because this is not this. It was al zeh. You can see in the Hebrew al zeh lo nishlachu. They were not sent to report on the people there. Moses said, "Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa! I did not send you to report on the people living there. That is not what I sent you to spy on. What did I send you to spy on? The land. What is God giving us? The land. So what are you supposed to spy on? The land." Right? They came back and they said a lot more things in Bamidbar than are recounted by Moshe here in Devarim. And the Malbim notices that as well. But what he says is that the problem was that when they came back to give the report, and especially that's why I included the part about the public, Nachmanides' trouble with what was reported in public, what their job was to come back and report to Moshe and to the people on the land, not on the people there. And this is what they have trouble with. But of course, this is a problem. That's not how we live. Is that how we live? Do we live seeing land and not the people who live on it? Boy, that's really challenging. However, they said, the people who inhabit this country are powerful. So the Malbim says the people should not have paid attention to this, since they gave a positive answer to that which they were sent about. So they did first give that positive report. And regarding that which they said the people are powerful, they were not sent about that.
That reminds me of the vowels. If you say something the day you hear it, okay, but if you wait till later, it's not valid.
So why does that remind you of the vow that if you say something the day you heard it, it's valid?
They should have said something right then and there. They were saying it's great, and they should have said it then and not come back later and say it.
Right. So yes, this is Nachmanides' problem, that they did not say in that moment. And by the way, also, the people who live in that land are terrifying. Yes, Alan.
In Lech Lecha,
Mhm.
there's the language in there that these people were not only were they giants, but they were greater than us, and they were like grasshoppers in their eyes. And the rabbis comment about that, saying, well, it shows that they had no faith in themselves. It's one thing to scout objectively about the people, but to project, how would they possibly know that they were like grasshoppers in the eyes of the people there? And it shows that there was a lack of faith, a lack of belief that it was going to happen, and so much so that there's even a midrash that says that they gadol bimenu, that they are greater than us, but it also means can be greater than him and greater than God. So these are people that don't have belief. And I think that's what's the problem, because they were said, Shlach lecha, go and look for yourselves. God's going to give you the land, but if you feel better going out doing it according to the midrash about why lecha is there, it's just so you feel more comfortable. There's no question we're going to win, because it's already been promised to us beforehand.
Right. And that goes back to AJ's point about faith and about the belief in the semi-miraculous to the miraculous, and whether or not we are okay with people not living in that spirit, and whether or not we're okay with people reporting not in that spirit. I'm going to invite you on your own time to read this other piece about testimony from the Mishnah Torah, because what I want to do is bring you back to a little bit of resonance, a little bit of consonance, trying to make ourselves feel like we can maybe understand from the perspective of the rabbis why it was that it bothered them so very much that the spies who were sent to scout out a land came back and commented on the people. After all, when we go and we look at a land, so long as we are going to look at a land for the purpose of potentially inhabiting it, presumably we are going there to at least interface a little bit with the people who live there, whether it's for the sake of conquering it, cohabitating there, whether it's for the sake of ourselves going to live in and among those people. We assume that we are going to look at the people who are also there. So I am trying to understand what it is that's so bothersome about a report that says that there are people in that land who are too powerful. And I can come up with two things, okay? And I'll welcome your opinions later because we're going to completely run out of time. So you'll come to me and you'll tell me what your opinions are later. But here are my two opinions. They're very closely related. I think that the rabbis are troubled by the idea that we would imagine that a people living in that land and that we as a people, meaning we as a people, B'nai Israel, as we existed wandering through the Midbar, were stagnant. Stagnant. That we were stagnant and unable to change comparatively to a land. Of course, a land too can change, but very slowly and over a long period of time. But people do change, and sometimes radically so. To declare that people are such, he's mean, she's awful, I can't do that, I'll never be this, I'll never be organized, we'll never be capable of X. That was one of the greatest sins of B'nai Israel is, we'll never be insert anything. B'nai Israel was so certain, not only in their inability to not remain faithful and not be able to believe that God would bring to them what they needed to have, but actually to be sure that they couldn't maintain themselves all through the Midbar as a people. There's no certainty there. There's no certainty in the wilderness of that people yet that they're going to be able to gel as a people, form as a people, shift and change as a people. They were flat out not ready. And in fact, one of the explorations from this morning that I made is that that's part of the reason why there is a whole generation that needed to pass in that wilderness. But people change. They really do change. So to make a report about the people who live in the land cannot be said, not only in the same breath, not even certainly not in the same breath, but also not even in a different breath and in whispers. It's a completely different beast. It's not only that the land itself is a completely different report, it's that when you see people who are in a land, those are the people who are in a land now, and perhaps those won't be the same people who are in the land later. It's that those are the people who are in the land now, but what if different people are in charge later? It's that maybe those are the people who are in the land still when we encounter it, but what if we're stronger later? What if we have new leadership later? What if we've grown then? So to believe in that is to believe in a growth mindset and to believe that the universe changes and to believe that even though land is land, and this is the land that's being given to us, God gives land, but God does not give who we are. And God doesn't give who other people are. That's constantly shifting and that's constantly changing. So if I'm going to believe there's a difference in the reports, that's what I can believe. That there's something to believing that people can change, even our enemies, maybe especially our enemies, believing that that was the report then, but perhaps the report can change and that there's always a possibility for shift, both for our enemies and also for us. And I welcome your insights offline, and I'll wish you a Shabbat Shalom. And I'll ask if anybody had Motzi stuff so that they can lead us in Birkat Hamazon. Okay, Joey's it. Please lead us in Shir Hamalot, and then we'll go into Zimun in the first paragraph.
You can also find it in the Sidur Lev Shalom on page 87. Shir Hamalot B'shuv Adonai Et Shivat Zion Hayinu Kecholamim Hazim Ale Sechok Pinu Ulshonenu Rina Az Yomeru Vagoim Higdil Adonai Lasoti Mele Higdil Adonai Lasoti Manu Hayinu Semechim Shuva Adonai Et Shivitenu Ka'afikim Ba'negev Hazorim bedima berina yiktoru. Halachele chuvacho no se meshech hazara. Bo yavo verina no se alumotav tehilat Adonai daber pi vivarech kol basar shim kudshulil amvaed va'anachnu nevarech yah me'ata v'ad olam hallelujah. Hodu l'Adonai ki tov ki le'olam chasto. Minha malil gevurot Adonai Yashmiya kol tehilato. Chavirayin avarech. Yehi Shem Adonai Barach Me'atav Yad Olam. Birshut Chavirayin Derech Elohim Shech Alenu Mishalo. Baruch Elohim Shech Alenu Mishalo V'tuvo Chayinu Baruch Hu Baruch Shemo. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam. Hazan et haolam kulo b'tuvo b'chein b'chesed u'vrachamim. Hu notein lechem lechol basar ki le'olam chasdo. Uvtuvo hagadol tamid l'chasar lanu ve'ayachsar lanu mazon lilam va'ed bavur shemo hagadol kiwel zanim farnes lakol umetiv lakol umechin mazon lechol beriotav asher bara Baruch atah Adonai Hazan et hakol nodech Adonai.
We begin weekday Mariv on page 264. I invite you to rise. After Baruch Hu, you can be seated.
You want the other mic back?
What's that? Oh, yeah, I can. Mic back. Thank you. Thanks. Okay. Vehura kumikabir bamalai yashkivir baleshiva balayir kochama tadonai hoshia melchianenu yom korenu Baruchu et Adonai Havorach Baruch Adonai Havorach Leolam Vahed. You can be seated. Baruch Adonai Leolam Vahed. Mavir yom mevi laila, mavdil ben yom ben laila Adonai tzavot shemo. El chavik hayam tamidim lo chalinu leolam vaed. Baruch atah Adonai amariv haravim. Yehavatachal tasir bimenu leolamim. Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai echad. Baruch Shemo. Adonai Elohechem emet. Emana kosav v'kayem aleinu ki hu Adonai Elohim v'yitzchak. Umlachut biratzon kibelu aleihem Moshe v'nei Yisrael echanu shifra b'simcha v'rabba b'meru chulam. Mi chamocha belim Adonai mi kamocha neder b'kodesh norati lo tosef ele. Malchutecha rehu fanecha v'keyem lifnei Moshe zeili hanu v'yameru. Adonai imloch leolam v'hed. V'ne'emar kifad Adonai Yaakov. V'gelo miyad chazak mimenu aruch atah Adonai gal Yisrael. Ushmor tzitenu ein l'chaim u'shalom yatavi adolam Baruch atah Adonai shomer hamo Yisrael lad. Ki amalchut shelecha hi u'lameyad timloch v'chavod ki ein lanu melech elata. Baruch atah Adonai hamelech v'chodot tamid yimloch aleinu le'olam v'ed ve'al kol ma'asav. Yitkadav yikadash shemei rabba Yamad yivarach yirzev yamlich malchutei b'chei yichonu v'meichonu chei yirucho b'esh Yisrael Bagalav yizman kariv v'imru amen Yishmei rabban varach li'lamon mehom ma'ya Yitvarach v'yishabach v'yitbar v'yishamam v'nasei Yitadar v'yitalei v'yitalash shemei d'kudesha beri Hulei lamin kol berchata v'shirata Yishvachata v'nechemata Tamiram yamav v'imru amen. The whispered private Amidah for the conclusion of Shabbat begins on page 270. If you haven't yet completed your own private Amidah, please continue at your own pace. Hatzi Kaddish is found on page 279. Yitkadav yikadash mirabah Yamai tivrach yirtivim lichol v'tevecheichon v'yamechon v'chayid Beit Yisrael bagalah v'yisman karivim ru amen Yish mirabah v'varach lilam h'mil ha'iyah Yitvarach v'shabach v'bar v'shman v'naseh Yitadar v'talev v'talash v'dekudish v'richu Leila min kol v'chatav v'shirata Jush v'chatav v'nechmata damiram v'yamhavim ru amen. We're on page 279 at the bottom half of the page. You can be seated. Yikrein himenehu imo hanuchi v'sarah chaletzehu v'yachvedehu orach yamim hasbiyehu v'erehu b'shuati orach yamim hasbiyehu v'erehu b'shuati. We turn back to page 216 to the second paragraph on the page. V'yata kadosh yoshev tehilot Yisrael v'karasel seve'amar kadosh 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 Adonai tzavot melech la'aretz kivodo. V'tiseni v'ruach v'shma acharai kol rahash gadol baruch kavod Adonai mimekomo Adonai himloch le'olam va'ed Adonai machatek ha'ileh. Yivtechu v'cha yodei shemecha ki lo hazav t'toreshech Adonai Adonai chafetz aman ziko yagdil Torah v'yadir. We turn forward again in the Siddur to page 280. Yikadav yikadash mirabah yom hativrach yirtevim lichol hutei v'chaychon v'yamechon v'chayid v'chol Beit Yisrael b'galav yisman karivim hu amen Yishem mirabah b'varach li'alam h'mehom ha'iyah Yivarach v'shabach v'bar v'shama v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalash v'yidukudisha v'rich u'leiv min kol berchata v'shirata jush v'chata v'nechmata damiram v'yamhavim ru amen Jikabat zalot honu ton d'chol Yisrael kadam ha'on divish ma'yavim ru amen Yishlam ha'rabba min shamay v'chayim aleinu v'yakol Yisrael Hu amen. Osei shalom imrav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'yakol Yisrael hu amen. Aleinu l'shabech l'don hakol l'teknu l'ad yitzeh b'reshit shalom. Hakatu v'toretech Adonai himloch li'olam va'ed v'ne'emar v'haya Adonai l'melech kol haaretz b'yom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shmo echad. Mourner's Kaddish is on page 282. Yikadal v'yikadash shemei rabbah v'yalmad divra kirutei v'yamlich b'achutei v'chayechon v'yamechon uv'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael Ba'gala uvizman kari v'imru amen. Yehi shemei rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lamei amaya. Yibarach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yishomam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudisha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tush v'chata v'nechamata. Tamiram v'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al Yisrael v'imru amen. V'sei shalom v'imrama, v'yaseh shalom aleinu v'al Yisrael v'imru amen. Adonai b'sasai, v'manei Yeshua, l'Adonai Yeshua, Halecha v'irchatecha sela, Adonai tzivaot, Imanu, Miskav lainu, Elohei Yaakov, Seba, Adonai tzivaot, Hashri Adam b'tei ha'pav, Adonai Hoshia, HaMelech Yaneinu V'Yakoreinu, LaYehudim, HaTorah, V'Simcha V'Sason, Levikar, K'Tihye Lanu, Kosishu HaTesah, Ub'Shem Adonai Hekra, Yainanai, Yananai, 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 Yananai. Okay, I'm giving you pre-warning, Marlies, we don't have spices in here. Do you have spices with you? Awesome. Will you be our spice blesser when we get there, please? Will you unmute? Awesome. Okay, she's gonna unmute and bless our spices. Okay. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, v'horei peri hagafen. Okay, go ahead. You can bless our spices.
Baruch atah Adonai, Borei,
Eloheinu melech haolam.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Borei, Minei besamim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Marvei Meori ha'eish. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Hamavdil ben kodesh lechol ben or lechoshech ben Yisrael amim, ben yom hashvi'i l'shishim me'am ha'aseh. Baruch atah Adonai Hamavdil ben kodesh lechol. Hamavdil ben kodesh lechol, chatorteinu imcho, zareinu v'chasveinu yarbe yarbe kacho, v'hakochaviv alayla. Zareinu v'chasveinu yarbe yarbe kacho, v'hakochaviv alayla. That's very inventive. Shavua tov, Shavua tov, Shavua tov, Shavua tov, Shavua tov, Shavua tov. Oh, nice. Shavua tov, Eliyahu HaNavi, Eliyahu HaTishvi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Agiladi, V'mehera v'yameinu, Yahava Eleinu, Mashiach ben David, Mashiach ben David.
Wait, we have a concert by Bob. No, next time. Oh, man, come on. Just 1, 2.
Shavua tov, Tybal.
Yes, to you too. The flower was Marizon Nimoy's from her garden, which I assume smell. So I put it up.
Oh,
It smells good. She's a gardener. And
uh-huh.
she sent me in bloom. Anyway, so I put that up in solidarity with you doing this blessing.
Oh, nice.
Of spices.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
So I saw Gary there in person, obviously.
Yeah, he's there. So he's going, so I can see him.
I know he kept coming to wave.
I didn't see him wave, but I guess I was.
Oh, I think he did.
Did he? Okay, I missed it. That's why I thought he'd come by. But anyway, I guess he's on his way home already. So
Yeah, got it. The room looks emptied out.
Yeah.
But she said a lot of people were there.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Anyway.
don't know what, I guess that's nice. It's good they got a
Yeah.
minion. Yeah.
I mean, the way the camera angle is, it didn't look any different from other weeks, but who knows?
Yeah,
Who
I guess
knows?
the whole section to our right, I guess, of the room is not shown. So yeah. Anyway,
Anyway, Shavua tov to you.
thank you. You too, Shavua Tov. Yeah. Talk next week, hopefully. Bye.
I don't know, for now, the acapella thing is the next thing. Chord Society, that was when we met together and sang for just some music and
Big groups, nationwide.
Dinner during summer?
I think we're stretching the